going.
Hold on.
Insane.
That's not in?
No, it didn't go in.
That's from the other night.
Yeah, this is from
Hey, 5-second warning.
Thursday. Okay, I got to mute it so they don't have copyright infringements. Wow.
Is it the audio or the video?
And he
part?
saved that on as he was falling into the net with his glove. That's a great save.
Should I just keep changing shuffling my papers?
Love hockey.
Until he tells us we're
we live?
air?
Are you asking me if we're live?
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes. Let's go to the show.
Start?
I am just going to keep shuffling my papers like I'm busy.
Oh, I tried to start it.
Everybody's going to keep thinking this is a bit.
I didn't.
It is a bit for him.
It's a bit stupid. It's a bit stupid.
Let's start the show.
Start the show. Stars pregame show right now. Couple of American goalies going head-to-head, a showdown up in Manitoba.
Nice.
Alongside Craig Ludwig, Sam Nestler, I'm Owen Newkirk. Our producer is John One Leg Anderson as he tries to get himself healthy for a big night out on the town. But we've got matinee hockey today at Canada Life Center in Winnipeg as the Stars get back to their normal road trip. Gosh, I wish I could take a picture of John right now. He's got
I gotta keep this thing elevated, guys.
He's got a
Get it
shoe
above your
off,
head.
a foot in the air because of a self-inflicted wound that he suffered.
I took a digger in the office earlier.
You know, you look like
Digger.
Mickey Mouse right there when you got that.
with the little ears.
I think the funniest part about it is that he fell because his foot was asleep. That's the best part.
Well,
for,
and
for
then
anyone for anyone in the audience who wants the inside scoop,
And he
my
thinks
foot was
elevating
asleep,
is what's
and
gonna
I went to
cure
go
it.
check if the elevator was unlocked for Sam, and I stood up and I rolled my ankle and fell.
So in a way, it's my
tough being a
fault.
director.
Complete
and
disaster.
then he had to explain it to a former professional athlete.
He's
who-
got bad circulation and he's 26.
Oh,
I'm 28,
28. Oh,
and I've had bad circulation
explains
since
it.
I was 24.
You got to thin your blood out. Speaking of that, this is
How
a
do I
good,
do that?
good
You
game
got
for
any
day drinking.
recommendations?
It is a good day. I got a drink. You got a drink?
I got a drink.
I got a little fireball in here.
I got a real one.
I just got water, guys. But you know what? I have no good segue.
I had
for
a
that.
margaroni
I
last
thought
night.
Oh, did you?
We got
Hungover today?
Mexican food and went bowling last night. I got a margaroni. Big
now.
one, frozen
Was
one.
it tough to get out of bed?
Speaking of Mickey Mouse, you want to see what Sam's feet looked like?
Oh,
Big
yeah.
feet show today in bowling.
so my brother and my brother's here visiting, and we decided, we went up there, and the guy said, "What size are you?" And my brother, without even hesitation, said, "What's the biggest size you have?" And they gave us 18s. And guess what? I came in second with those babies on.
You wore them?
We wore those bowling
So you
the whole night.
decided
That's
to
the end of the bowling
You
night.
decided clown shoe bowling was your theme
Yeah,
of the
and
night.
guess what? This is when I learned that I'm not a good bowler. I was no better and no worse than I would normally have been bowling.
Because you wore giant shoes that
Yes.
didn't fit and didn't affect your performance whatsoever.
Yes.
Well, I guess it
I
could
was
be a little
excellent.
humbling.
I got introduced to the family as soon as I got off the elevator,
Yeah.
too.
Well, it's met my face-to-face with my girlfriend. As
I
he
was
stepped
watching
to the
one of those
elevator.
scenes out of Willy Wonka and
I'd
the
like to
Chocolate
thank
Factory.
the dozens of people that are already tuned in. I mean that literally. But I only see 3 likes on the video. So if you're watching, hit the like. That number should be jumping right now
I liked
because it helps our show. It helps the algorithm and all that nonsense.
Those are rookie numbers, Owen. We got to get those numbers
Let's
up.
get those up.
We do, but if you're watching right now, and there's a lot of you, and you haven't hit the like, and we just lost a couple watchers. No, I'm kidding. All right, let's get to it. Stars and Jets today in Winnipeg, and Lud's Mason Marchment is a game time decision. He practiced yesterday. I take that as a very optimistic. He's going to play today. Is it? I mean, it's one of 82, but it is the best team in the NHL right now. We'll get into all those details, but is it of vital importance that Mason Marchment plays today?
Yes, you need all hands on deck, and I think this is what players that are game players and gamers, and when the big game is here, and even though it's whatever, what is this, game 13, game 14, somewhere like that,
13,
you wouldn't say it's a big game, but again, we talked about the things going on in Finland and using that series as the measuring stick, and This is another one. It's the best team in the league right now, and so they want to go into somebody's building and make a statement, and they need to make a statement.
Yeah, I think even more so than just a measuring stick or however you want to word it with the team specifically. This team is about to go into the meat of their schedule. They're about to play pretty much every other night until the Four Nations in February. It would be really good to have a big win over the hottest team in the NHL to kick that all off.
Well, and the other thing real quickly, and then we get into some of the details. Here, by the way, here's Hobbles, John, trying to get ourselves.
Owen put his.
It's buzzing.
Yeah.
Here.
Owen put his thing over the microphone.
Oh, jeez. Who put the microphone cable
What a
where
rookie.
we put our power cord?
All
All
right.
right.
Put the microphone cable under Owen's laptop charge.
That's
Seriously.
what happens when you go live, everybody.
Afternoon games. This is what
Afternoon
happens.
games. You start slow. Even we
Yeah.
start slow.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. Dallas road record 2-3 in their first 5 games. Now, one of them was in Finland, but I'm waiting for it. Yeah, he wasn't settled down. He wanted to play it. But this is the team that had the best road record in the NHL last year. And I think it goes to the whole theme of they haven't quite hit their stride yet on anything except for maybe playing at American Airlines Center where they remain perfect. But Luds, the road record, they haven't really looked like that 4-line clicking, wear you down, be patient kind of team that they did last year on the road.
Well, it's hard to have 4 lines clicking when they don't have the same chemistry that they had for
same
a
players.
year and some time. Well, that's the thing is they've got different players. I think the coaches are searching for some chemistry and who to play where. And I think that's a good thing. Hopefully Mason is well enough to contribute today and be in the lineup because that line, Duchesne and himself and Tyler Seguin are the most consistent group of guys that Pete DeBoer's had. And I think what he's doing is he's shuffling the deck chairs all over the place and trying to find some another line that can have that chemistry and can jump and can create some momentum, some positive momentum, and instead of just one line. I mean, this team for a long time was about 3 lines, which everybody's going to play 15 minutes tonight because everybody's contributing, and it's just the opposite right now.
Yeah. What's interesting is with one with Marchment, it speaks a little bit about what his health is. It shows that this is a very cautious injury, right? They know Marchment, how he plays. He's not playing a game if he's not 100% healthy because he plays that style.
Not a regular season game in the first 40 games
exactly,
of the year.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not going to go in there and play because he doesn't he doesn't dance around it. He's in the middle of everything. So if he's bumped up, and he's not going to play. So I think it shows that this was a very cautious injury to kind of hold him out. But the other thing that I just told Luz this when I was watching some of the highlights of the Winnipeg game against Colorado a couple nights ago, the Winnipeg right now is doing what Dallas wants to do. They have a goalie who's playing as the best goalie in the world. They are rolling their lines and they are just pushing downhill and just overwhelming opponents. And as Lud's made a good point too, they also now finally have the freedom to do what they want. They're not playing that kind of Bones style where they would try to win 2-1 and really, really lock down too much on defense. Now they're just kind of trusting their goalie, trusting their defense, and getting up ice. And it's really, really worked well. And it's kind of given us a glimpse of what the Stars should look like in a month or so.
All right. Well, let's look at the Winnipeg lines. You want to go that way? We'll turn that direction. Show it. Luds, what do you like about this group right now? What stands out for a team that ranks first in wins, points, goals per game, goals against per game, and power play?
Chemistry. I think that they're from a Scott Arniel standpoint, the head coach for Winnipeg, there's a rhythm to this team. And there was a rhythm to Dallas last year, the way that you were able to roll the lines out there. But they've got Connor's at a pace. I mean, we've known this guy could score goals forever. And Scheifele seems to be, ever since he signed that contract, I think there was a dip in his game, and that might have been because what's my future for this club? And so they signed him right away.
I remember we were talking about Matt Duchesne, and was he trying to play to the contract in Nashville as opposed to just play and try to help the team win?
Yeah, well, I think for any player, I mean, you're always kind of wondering what is the future, even though I'm, the guy here. And so it's nice to get that. But these guys are all playing confidence in it. And so is the group of defensemen they have. But it all goes back to exactly what Sam said. It's goaltending. And you can be a little bit more. I think what Arniel has done this year is he said, we've been playing kind of tight to the vest for a long time. We couldn't be a club that was going to come from behind if we're down a goal or two, and so we got to keep it tight. And now they've kind of turned them loose a little bit because they've got a goaltender that's playing like the best goaltender on the planet right now.
Hey, John, put that group of forwards back up there. Look at the guys. I'm going to read this off because I think it is really a big reason why Winnipeg reset after looking like they were trending down. When they traded Pierre-Luc Dubois on June 27th of a year ago, so it wasn't this summer, but the previous summer, to the LA Kings, they got Alex Iafallo, right? Fourth line right wing right now. Rasmus Kupari, who's a center on their fourth line. Gabe Vilardi, who's currently playing on the top line. And a second-round pick in 2024 this past draft. So they have, a quarter of their forward lines on this current team and they got rid of a guy who was a big salary guy and also underperforming.
It was a dump.
It was a addition by subtraction, and then they stacked 3 guys. I think it really turned out to be a bad one for the LA Kings, obviously, but a real win for Winnipeg. Now, it's not always that way, though, Luds, because at the trade deadline, they acquired Sean Monahan from Montreal. They gave a first. They had a conditional third, but they didn't win the cup. They didn't even win the first round. They also spent a second and a third for Tyler Toffoli. Monahan and Toffoli, neither on the roster. So they spent a first, a second, and a third to get eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. I like that Kevin Cheveldayoff went for it, but that's the risk that GMs take at the deadline if their team does not perform in the playoffs.
Well, and I think people are getting used to that. I mean, they're kind of, I don't know, maybe they're the Maple Leafs of the Midwest of Canada. The Leafs have that problem of getting past the second round or getting you to it sometimes. But I think there's a different feeling this year. And that's the thing is I think there's a group here and there's some new pieces here. I mean, talk about Iafallo. Iafallo could be playing up in the lineup too.
Agree.
I mean, you have that kind of depth on this team now. So and the other thing is, I was talking to Sam earlier. I said Ehlers is healthy, and when that kid is, I mean, he's he's not a kid anymore, but I remember he's a really good player, but he always seems to find the injury bug somewhere down there. And so now that again, I think it's what we see from Dallas when they're all playing the way they're supposed to. Is the minutes are allocated all the way down, and you're not running hot on just 6 or 7 players on a team.
Yeah, and what you just said, Owen, the trades they made last year and the moves they made that all backfired. That's what admittedly wrongly, had me thinking they were going to take a step back this year. I really didn't think Winnipeg was going to be where they are. And maybe they won't be where they are right now at the end of the season, but I didn't see this coming. But now I look at what they're doing, and we just looked at the lineup. We just talked about the depth. We talked about how the Stars should look like what they look like. The Jets have scored 63 goals. The Stars have scored 38. The Jets have 10 players with 10 points already this season. The Stars have 3.
Those are Dallas numbers from last year.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, and and this team, if you take out the playoffs, I think they've won 20 of their last 21 regular season games.
Because they stormed
It's not
to the end.
just this year. It's started last year, and they had a coaching not debacle. I mean, Bones went out for a little while, and Arneal came in, and Arneal got him running. And it's funny because they went through the process this summer, right, of finding a new coach, and it went on for a couple months or a month and a half. And I'm like, what? The dude's sitting right there. And it ultimately became Arneal, but I think they were making it look good. Like we're going through the process, and we're interviewing everybody, and we probably, Scott, just go sit over there in the corner. You're going to be our guy, but we're going to make this look right.
Well, you talk about the struggles the Stars are having offensively versus what Winnipeg is doing right now. Pete DeBoer addressed that yesterday, and I thought he had a really interesting line about and he was asked about the power play, and he said it's not just our power play.
I think both. I think our scoring in general has to, and it's not where we expect it to be. It's not where it's been the last 2 years, and it's not one thing. It's not just the power play. Our 5-on-5 scoring isn't good enough. Our defense scoring isn't good enough. So it's all those things. I think we've all got to find another level in the scoring department.
So, Luds, why? Why are they having such a trouble, an issue of getting up to speed offensively? Because the last 2 seasons under DeBoer, the offense hasn't been the problem, except for in the conference final against Edmonton.
Well, I would say that when you're besides the line, and we'll call it the line now, and the Duchesne line. So besides those guys, Hintz and Robo are missing daddy. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, that's what it appears to be. And when that happens, we saw Robo down on this line. We saw somebody else up there with Hintz. And, we used to, when you rate players and you rate them on a scale of 1 to 5, everybody, I'm sure, does it differently. And I was thinking of Blackwell, Steele, Benn, Stankoven. they would all be a 4 for me. I mean, I think, and again,
through 12 games.
Yeah, through 12 games. And I'm not saying they're, the best in the league. I'm just saying for where we are right now. And then guys that have been better are Miro. I think Miro had a good game last game. So maybe that's a step in the right direction. Thomas has got to be better, I think. And from not just the getting up the ice, but the ones I'm skipping are Hintz, Robo, Wyatt. You know what I'm saying? Like those are 3 of your top players.
They could be your top line.
They have to be. They have to be. Yep. And again, not that they're 1s or 2s, but they're not what you're expecting. And I really think it's all going back to finding the chemistry or the right mix. And at some point, you're going to have to get close to it, and then you're going to have to let it ride for a while.
Yep.
They got to get used to each other.
Sam, what about the defensive part of it? Because the other thing that Pete said there was our defensive scoring. We all know that Miro and Harley have had a slow start offensively, but it doesn't just fall on those 2 shoulders to have offensive production, right?
Yeah.
I thought we saw a little bit better from Nils Lundqvist trying to jump into the play when he can, but there needs to be more from this collective group.
Yeah, I mean, we have Dumba doesn't have a point. That's a perfect example. That's someone they thought could get, not to the numbers he had when he had the crazy big season like 5 years ago, but that's someone they thought could take it. Jim Nill literally told me he thought he had another step to go in both sides of his game, and that's someone they predicted would have 5 or 6 points by now. They have offense from those guys, and we've talked about Esa Lindell has more offense than we think he has. Thomas Harley has a lot more offense than we've seen so far. We've seen Miro. Lud's liked Miro being a little more offensive minded and shooting happy in the last game. So we need to see more of that. And I think Lud's is exactly right. If you were to say, why is this team not scoring enough goals? My immediate answer is they don't have the right lines yet. And that we've seen that. They've changed lines almost every game. They don't have, basically they have one line, and there's other lines that play well in a certain game. There's a time where the top line with Dodonov looks really good, or there's a time when Johnston goes down with Bork or with Ben or something like that, and they look good that game, but it's not game after game, and it hasn't built. And I don't know whether the answer is what Lud said, which is put a lineup in and let's play 5 games with it, or if it's they just can't find it. I don't know, but that's the reason why they haven't scored.
Think they can dumb their game down a little bit, and I don't like saying that with the kind of talent that these guys have, but to me, sometimes when things aren't, you can't make 3-4 passes and get a high quality scoring chance. Let's start directing more things at the net, and I say it all the time when skilled guys are having a hard time scoring goals. Go to the front of the net. Let one hit you in the butt or in the skate or get a lucky one, and then you kind of feel good about yourself. And I think if they could get into that mindset and say, almost like Carolina. Carolina seems to lead the league in getting pucks to the net, and they just played north, and they throw pucks there, and they've got some skilled guys that have bought into that. And it's almost like the other night we talked about Wyatt, and I was talking about Wyatt, and I think Wyatt's got to be a little bit more unpredictable, and I think he's trying to get into them real good areas. And if he can start shooting the pucks from all over the place because of the ability that he can shoot the puck with, he's got a great shot. I think more of these guys need to start doing that.
And if you look at the Florida Panthers against Dallas in those 2 Finland games, it wasn't just tic-tac-toe kind of stuff. It was a lot of deflections. It was going to the net hard. They're a really good team. They just put a hurting on who was it the other day? I'm completely blanking now.
Nashville.
Well,
everybody's done that too.
Well, yeah,
that was the 6-2 game.
On our boy Scotty Wedgwood.
But they had just won. Nashville had just won a game, and then boy, they put a hurting on.
Yeah, what's interesting? Just one thing on that. What we were just talking about is the shoot happy and shooting more and dumbing the game down. I actually noticed yesterday. I kind of forgot to even bring this up that. At practice, Logan Stankoven, I think they were doing 2-on-1 drills, and Stankoven came in with Ben, and Stankoven didn't even look at Ben on the 2-on-1. He just ripped a shot, and he buried it past, I think it was Oettinger, and Ben just went over to him, and he went, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So, but I've seen it a couple times where it's like, let's do it more. Mm-hmm. These guys are making these plays at practice or in whatever, and then for whatever reason, they just get a little pass happy and they're not shooting the puck. But it was just funny to see, the captain knows it too.
Remember when I was talking about Wyatt and coming off of last year and all the good things that were happening and trying to get. They may all be doing that because remember how many goals they scored last year, and it seemed like to be with ease. I mean, we've seen, in my opinion, one game where I saw the tic-tac-toe stuff, and that was coming up through the middle of the ice against the Boston Bruins on the power play. We were like, oh, they're here now. Yeah. Now they're back. Well, they're not quite back. No. And if it wasn't for one guy right now, they wouldn't have those 8 wins.
Although I wonder if maybe they'd be different if they didn't have the Finland trip. Because they were, they played Boston, they beat Chicago. If there'd just been normal routine for a few more games, maybe they get on that. I think the Finland thing really put a little bit of a speed bump on their
Well,
development.
but when they left, weren't they going to say that, we're going to go and show the Stanley Cup champions
They
who we
were,
are?
but then it didn't work that way.
Exactly.
Maybe too much sauna time, right?
Yeah, I think that this record, it's good that they've got this buffer and get things figured out, but it's all because of Jake Oettinger. He's been great. And today, again, you're going to have one team. I just wonder, is Dallas going to get caught up in exchanging chances today? The good news is the Winnipeg Jets.
Boy, it's interesting you bring that up because Scott Arniel doesn't think so.
They're a team that doesn't, their highs and lows aren't, I guess they don't have a lot of highs and lows. They're a pretty even-keeled team. They just about how they play, they defend kind of, obviously they have structure, they do that, but when it comes to their breakouts, they're good at it. They're pretty predictable, but they're really good at it. They've been doing it as a group for a while. How they take away your ice through the neutral zone. They have good speed on their counters through the neutral zone. Offensively, they haven't changed. For the last 3 years I've been here, they continue to do sort of the right things all the time, and they're a team that there's not a whole lot of surprises coming out. Maybe a couple new faces in their lineup, but other than that, it's what Pete's going to do with his group is the structure that's coming, and it's pretty consistent, and they're very, very patient. They're not going to get caught up in a trade chances type game. They're going to kind of force you to make mistakes, and they'll try to bounce on those. And I think we've had good success against them. We've had good games against them, but it's about being smart and patient as well.
I really thought that was that last part. They're patient. They don't want to trade chances. Because last year, my whole thesis on the Stars were they went from a team that had to play a certain way to win to they can play any type of style. And you want to run a gun? We'll play run and run. You want to play Vegas, pack the net and play against the boards and hard? We can do that. I don't know if they're quite there this year yet, but do you agree with Arniel? Do you think they don't want to trade, that they're going to be patient?
There's a difference to me in trading chances. And when you're trading chances, when you're sending 3-4 guys below the hash marks in the offensive zone, and then means there's another chance going the other way. Well, I saw so many clips in the last game that I watched them play. We're coming back into their defensive zone. They have 5 guys coming across the blue line versus 3 from the other team. So when he says trading chances, I think there's a mandate that, we can do this, but we're going to make sure we get everybody back at the other end of the rink. Now, Winnipeg is in the top 4 in the league as far as giving pucks away in their own zone. So they're not just this team that's throwing it off the wall. They're trying to make plays, and they're trying to play puck possession. So maybe that's a spot today that Dallas can take advantage of some of them and maybe get back on track, because if they're all playing in the right spots, they want to break out and play tape to tape to tape. And if Dallas is in the right spot, they'll pick some of those pucks off. But again, I think this is a team that plays hard forward, and they play hard coming back to their own net. And if they do have the breakdown, which they will, they've got Hellebuych, who they can go, wow, we're pretty good, especially like on 2-on-1s. I'm not talking breakaways or 3-on-1s, but in that kind of a situation, they know they've got that guy that's playing the best he's probably ever played.
Yeah, and it's funny. You always look at, Chicago's or San Jose's or teams that are rebuilding and like to open up the game, because when a team like that plays Dallas, their only chance really is when they can kind of open things up and get it to go back and forth. But this is one of those where you look at, it shouldn't be an open chance game. It shouldn't. It looks, on paper, it looks like a very defensive game with a very good goaltending. But this is one of those that once in a while these turn into 6-5s. For the Stars, specifically the way they're playing right now and how Winnipeg is playing right now, they need to not get in that game, because
you just told me to tell my kid to take the under, so it better not be 6-5.
And I'm saying for the Stars, it better not be 6-5, because if the Stars get into that kind of game against how Winnipeg's playing, Winnipeg has the goalie that's playing a step better.
Exactly.
They have the team that's scoring 2-3 steps above Dallas. They're playing at a higher level in terms of their scoring, which means that if the Stars are going to win tonight, they need to do it by locking down defensively, not getting into that type of game.
Well, hopefully they do it this afternoon, because if they start tonight, then we're in real trouble.
Then
is it afternoon game?
Yeah, it's an afternoon game. Just like the game's
starts.
not here, it's in Manitoba.
Let's take a look at the Winnipeg defense and goalie, because we see Connor Hellebuych. That's the big one. Josh Morrissey is second in the league in defenseman scoring, and Luds, he's not a big guy, but boy, has he grown. And Sean did a great piece on his Substack, which was not part of DLLS, but you should check it out, on Morrissey a couple weeks ago, about a player. And we were trying to come up with a comp when he asked me about it, and I couldn't, of a player who developed into an offensive defenseman in the NHL. meaning he didn't play in the A for a little while and then bide his time. Because John Klingberg did that. He came, he had hip surgery, he came over, wasn't quite ready, went down, played 10, 12 games, lit it up in the AHL, came up and never went back. Josh Morrissey is just, and he had a quote to Sean when he interviewed him of, I just focused on the other parts of my game. I played defensive and did all those things as a third pairing guy to stick around. And then when the opportunity presented it, he showed that he had more layers to his offense.
He's a great skater to start with. And what he does well in his own zone, he can usually shake the first forechecker. And before he even shakes him, he knows where he's going with his pass. So when he's got these quick little pivots and turns in the corners, and he's got an outlet already in mind. I mean, half his points are coming on the power play right now.
Yeah, he's good on power play.
So he's an offensive guy. And it started a couple of years ago with him, and he's been growing and growing. And I think now they're talking about him possibly for a Norris, and I'm sure that he's in that conversation. But he kind of fits into the kind of system all these guys are playing, where they're, again, not a track meet, not exchanging chances, but he can get up to with the play. Like Miro. Miro can get into the play offensively, but his skating ability allows him to get back and defend.
So let's look at the Stars defense and goalie. We showed you the forward group earlier. This is the expected lineup today. And by the way, Mason Marchment is officially in, so he'll play. Jake Oettinger, of course, gets the start. I thought it was really good for him to come out against Chicago and play as well as he did to shake off that poor game in Finland. And this is not some, men against boys matchup between Oettinger and Hellebuych. These are two of the top three goalies basically in the NHL. Winnipeg as a team has the best goals against the save percentage in the NHL right now. Dallas ranks third in both categories. So while Hellebuych leads the league in wins, goals against save percentage, and shutouts, Otter's in the top 10 in all those categories, and he can be inside the top 5 if he gets a win today. He's been very, very good. This should be a heck of a goalie showdown, Sam.
Yeah, no, it really should be. And Jake had a tough game in Finland, and that's kind of the thing on your mind when that happens, especially with all that went into that trip and how big the scale was of it. But he's been very good, and he's had a few games where he has had to make a few saves. He's had kind of all the different games early on, right? We've been through 12 games so far. He's had the games where it's been no shots and he's had to just take a 2-on-1. We saw it in the last game against Chicago. He has to just take a 2-on-1 and just hope to make a really good save out of nowhere after seeing no shots for 5-6 minutes. And then he's had the games where he's been under pressure a little bit. He's had the games where he's had to hold on in a third period. So he's been tested and he's answered the bell. He's been everything we hoped he should be, and I think he'll be very good again today.
I think you hope that Jake's just going to be Jake today and not be looking down at the other end of the rink and thinking that I got to outdo that guy, because he's been on for whatever he does. So again, we're expecting a battle there, and I think a lot of times, as you said earlier, sometimes we expect that and it may go differently.
Yeah.
A couple guys I want to highlight real quick. First, jamiebenn, 16 for 16 in the faceoff circle against the Blackhawks. He became the 6th player in NHL history to do that in a game since faceoffs were tracked, which started in the 97-98 season. And yes, Dallas generally sets it up for Jamie to be on his strong side, so it sets him up for success. But he still got to win, and not losing a single draw against Chicago. Yeah, it was man against boy in terms of Benn versus Bedard in a lot of cases. But boy, that was a remarkable feat.
Yeah, and I think he put a lot of the onus on himself when it starts with the power play, because he felt that the power play, again, we know if you lose the draw and it goes down, you're killing 15 seconds or so off. And he took it upon himself that he wasn't winning enough faceoffs, especially on that part of the game where you can start with the puck in the offensive zone. So I think that just kind of trickles over to him. And you're right, but when you watch Jamie go over to the right side, in other words, on the offside which isn't his strong side, and he wants to just do it with sheer power. And the puck is going to the wall, and he's trying to just sweep it over there, which he's so good on his backhand. I don't understand why there's some centermen that are concerned about bringing the puck back to the middle of the ice. You know what I mean? Like it in your own zone, it's okay if you're there. And because I got a defenseman right there, and you just let him know, or you just tie up. I think if Jamie ever decided to not, I know he does sometimes, if he just wants to tie somebody up and have a centerman or a defenseman come and pick it up, they're going to get it. I think for the most part, he is just a guy that just overpowers people in the circle.
Yeah, he works a ton on faceoffs too. He's one of the guys after practice that usually is trying to do faceoffs for a little while. But he actually told us yesterday that he did lose one. He was
Yeah,
very,
he said the very
he was
last one of
very
the game or
sure about
something.
that he lost
And
one in the
Tyler
third
said it
period.
after the game.
And Tyler was very quick to
He
jump on
called
it.
him
So,
on it really
so the
quickly.
home team's not going to take that one away from him. But full credit, and he did make a good point about the power play. He knew that not only was it big, but we talked about it, they were the worst in the league through like 8 games or something like that on power play faceoffs. That changed drastically, and that helps you through so many different ways. So you get better on faceoffs on the power play, you have better results, you get better faceoffs 5-on-5, and it just kind of all builds. And that the clip we just saw was kind of asking about what does the power play give you confidence on the 5-on-5 or vice versa? And Pete said we needed to be both.
Well, that's it for us for now. We'll be here for a post-game show right after the game. Until that point, enjoy an afternoon hockey game, Stars and Jets.
We all silly like the mayor.